All right, just double checking platforms.
Am I lined up?
We're good on YouTube and we're good on Twitch, so we're all set. Awesome. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lorebeards. Andy will not be joining us as he is having some technical issues, which have been plaguing him for the week.
For the last 3 years, actually.
Oh, really? It's just an ongoing.
Yeah, it's the Rookery Towers in Edinburgh is this vortex of it's like a null zone for technology. There's always something. I think it's old stones. I think is what's causing it.
They need to check their the Ogham stones around the house. But we are joined by Mark Gibbons.
Hello, everybody.
So for anyone that is not aware, Mark, would you mind kind of introducing yourself, talk about what you've done over the years and kind of your relationship with Warhammer Fantasy in particular?
Yeah, so illustrator, concept artist, art director, was it say there, seer of sights on occasion. So I've been an artist working in fantasy and science fiction since the late 1980s. I think like a lot of artists like myself, I started off as a freelancer, just sort of picking up jobs here and there. But prior to a career, I was a very committed tabletop gamer. So any chance I got to do artwork that was related to the hobby that I loved was obviously didn't feel like work at all. And after years of trying and coming to Games Workshop's attention as a figure painter initially, I started getting my first freelance commissions from them, working on things like the Deathwing and Gene Stealer expansions for the original Space Hulk. And then from then, early 90s, I joined the studio full time, working on 4th edition fantasy, 2nd edition 40K, things like Necromunda, Space Marine, and then sort of over about a 5-year period, kind of contributed at least something to pretty much everything that Games Workshop did in that time. Stepped away from Games Workshop when video games sort of took off, the birth of the PlayStation age, and went to work for Sony and a few other developers. Then came back to Workshop 2004, 2005 as a predominantly concept artist at that point, working on the key design team. So I did the concept art and the illustration for projects like Black Templars when they first got their own codex. And then in 2006, moved to the United States, where I went to work for Blizzard as art director initially, but also as a sort of concept artist, all-round and generalist illustrator type. Was there for about 7 years. Then went to Riot for a few years. But for the last 5 or 6, I've been back as an independent, back predominantly in tabletop again, back to the first love. And then in 2000, I set up, co-set up Rookery Publications with your esteemed colleague, Andy Law, Lindsay Law, Andy Leask, and Graham Davis. And we have been working on tabletop RPG stuff, but also board game stuff with a view to building our own brand of action, adventure, RPG, board game, card game, old school tabletop goodness.
Well, that is a lot. That's a lot of things. So
that's the brief highlights,
man. But so between Games Workshop, Riot, and Blizzard, you have really kind of been in like a lot of the core fantasy IPs that a lot of people kind of keep up with.
Yeah, there's more as well, actually. Because I've done stuff for BattleTech. I think the only big name I haven't done anything for is Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering. I've never done anything for Wizards of the Coast or TSR, so that's still one to tick off the bucket list.
Well, you certainly have had a pretty massive influence on, like, I think almost everybody in chat's main hobbies. I mean, just looking through a lot of your which if y'all haven't, you can literally just Google Mark and you can find some of the you'll see art that you'll probably, if you've been playing Warhammer, especially back in the tabletop days, you'll go, oh my God, like it's that piece. And if you haven't, then you'll see how a lot of his work, even all these years later, is still heavily used or heavily inspires a lot of the stuff that we all love.
It still
and
pops
still work
up.
with.
It still pops up from time to time. I think these days, certainly with Games Workshop, it tends to be more they dig back through the vaults and they pull out an old piece of my art and make a miniature of it, which is lovely to see after all this time. Oh, you're making who? You're making them? Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Andy about it, and it came up that when they released the new prophetess character for Warhammer: The Old World, and it's like that. It just looks like one of Mark's art pieces brought to life. Like it looks like a model they tried to make back in the day, but they just didn't quite have the ability to bring it to life in the way they wanted to.
The new unicorn is
the new
amazing.
unicorn. Yeah, and it's like that looks much closer to I think what the art was trying to evoke, where it's like, those Warhammer unicorns, they're not nice, they're scary, they're scary creatures.
Yeah, big and scary for sure.
But okay, so we have questions that a lot of people have submitted, which we'll get to those in a little bit. There's a couple things that I would love to pick your brain about. First, just kind of going through, because when I actually sat down and went through a lot of the catalog, it's kind of crazy to me how many of a lot of my favorite characters and favorite moments in fantasy have been depicted by your talent, which is incredible. And something I'm really excited to kind of talk about. Like kind of looking through your pieces, probably the one that really jumps out at me immediately, especially because there's a colorized version of it out, is the Green Knight.
Yes.
Which is such a phenomenal piece and is like exactly like he hasn't changed at all. This piece, I don't know off the top of my head when you originally did this one. I want to say this originates from the first Bretonia book, or at least the 5th edition book.
Is that 4th or 5th? I
want to say 4th,
but it may have been 5th. I don't know. But 94, 95, maybe.
So I think what I kind of wanted to ask is, when it comes to creating these characters and stuff, a lot of who are like, they're the exact same designs that you managed to conjure up. How was the creation process for that? I mean, did someone come to you with just words on a page, or were they giving you like some really rough sketches? Like, what was the creation process of someone coming to you from Games Workshop or wherever and being like, hey, we want you to make a piece about X or Y?
It would often depend on because ultimately it's about the miniatures, so it would often depend on who's sculpting the miniature. So if I were working with Jez Goodwin, Jez always did his own concepts, and he would often have sketched stuff way in advance. So even if the miniature hasn't been sculpted yet, Jez will have these amazing comprehensive sketches and ideas to channel the any illustration work. For something like the Bretonian, which was not Jez's area, well, he was not assigned. He's a busy man. Between Eldar and Space Marines and High Elves, and he's got his dance card is always full.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be touching on some of his some things y'all done together. Yeah.
So as I recall, with the Bretonian book, I think that was Nigel Stillman was the writer, and working with Nigel was always a bit of a treat because he was always just open to any kind of ideas. So I suspect what I would have got from Nigel at the time was a page of notes, maybe some written up lore, some backstory, and just some sort of highlights to hit. And then it would be, away you go do some art.
Go figure it out.
So I'll go away and do the art. And then that art would get given to the sculptor to make the miniature based on. So the illustration did double duty as something to go in the book, but also something to provide a template for the sculptor to follow. Wasn't always the case. Sometimes you'd get a miniature done first and you'd be handed the finished miniature and say, just draw that. But as I recall, I only did a couple of pieces for the Bretonian book. I think it was only the Green Knight and the
Enchantress.
Yeah. And the miniatures came after the art in those instances.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you say with the Green Knight being colorized, it was I just thought, I'm going to paint this one in green ink. So all I did was I swapped the color instead of using black ink, I just used green ink. And
it came out beautifully.
That was it. Oh, I want to do it green.
Like it's an absolutely marvelous piece. But I was kind of looking through to see like, oh, I wonder if like he's worked on like any, because I had seen quite a bit of your like those two Bretonia pieces are super duper famous, especially because Bretonia didn't get a lot of books near the end, so a lot of their
Right.
art's kind of concentrated to those earlier books. But like a ton of art for like elves and chaos and demons and Skaven and undead, like especially the old classic undead.
Yeah.
You even had quite a bit of Chaos Dwarf works that have like heavily, like even the like the brand new Chaos Dwarf stuff we just got for Total War, you could still see a lot of those inspirations. Like Zatan the Black practically looks the exact same as the way he was or like that kind of Chaos Lord character with the banners and stuff.
Yeah.
Originally envisioned, which is just incredible.
Yeah, it's so I'm always it's sort of very gratifying when you see that, because I think there's a tendency to want to revisit and overhaul and revamp, and they sort of Forge had done that with the Chaos Dwarves. They'd done a spin on the Chaos Dwarves for the new ones, and I really like the way they'd taken them. So I was expecting to see more of that with the Total War. So when they went back to the original designs, the first draft of miniatures, and then the illustrations that people like myself and John Blanche and Wayne England had done back in the time, and Dave Gallagher with the color stuff. It's always, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see that it still has, all these years later, those original ideas are still the ones that they want to stick with. That's very cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine what kind of a unique feel it is to just see like a very popular and like ever growing universe, but it's still using the concepts that you manifested, decades after the initial inception. It just, I think, goes so far to show how impactful and amazing those pieces are.
That's very kind of you to say. It is occasionally a double-edged sword. when I was back at the, no pun intended, it is when I went back to the studio in like 2005. One of the projects I got assigned to do concept art on was the current ideation of the fantasy dwarf range. So I started doing all these concepts, and they were not exactly as previous dwarves had been. And I was told, no, you have to stick with the original dwarf design work. And I said, I did that original dwarf design work. I mean, if anyone's allowed to change,
we're gonna need you to be inspired by the last guy.
Surely I'll get to do that. And they were like, and I said, I wish I'd worked a bit harder first time round. I wish I'd refined my designs a little more, because I think there's room for improvement here. But like, you can't drift too far away from what's gone before, which I understand. But it's kind of like you put sort of the guardrails on your own work,
Yeah.
Previous generation of yourself.
It's like there's some cool things if you'll just let me go a little.
Bend my own rules. They were not. No, well, you can bend them, you just can't break them, which I understand. But yeah, it's funny how things come back to haunt you.
So I guess the next thing I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about is when it came to fantasy and 40K and stuff, have there kind of been any projects that even all these years later really stick out to you that were particularly special, either due to difficulty or maybe due to just you were really, really happy with how it turned out? Are there any processes or like any of those particular experiences that have stayed with you to like these days?
I think certainly there were favorite projects, I think, and it was usually like, I like the lore here, or I like the miniatures, I like the armies. If I was building an army, I'd want to build an army of these. And that was usually things like the Skaven, the original undead, the all encompassing undead, just because I loved painting rat men and ghosts and zombies and skeletons. That was pretty much it. Individual projects, I really enjoy working on Necromunda. Because that was a sort of sidestep from the usual bread and butter stuff. It wasn't Space Marines. It was it's such a unique aesthetic. Like even within 40K,
it's almost its own universe, really. Just like look at the designs; they don't even look related anymore because it's just so wildly different. Which I imagine is a great thing because you get to just go crazy with it.
Yeah, it's you're flipping a stone on a particular kind of dark corner that hasn't been explored before, so it feels fresh. So you've got the sort of the security of the 41st millennium, So the rules are in place, but you get to sort of really play with it, really sort of dive deep and noodle on stuff. And that's it. I imagine that's happening a lot at the studio these days when you've got things like Warhammer Underworlds and Warcry, where you go, okay, we're just gonna dive deep down into this one little sharp focus and make that a whole army.
Yeah,
or very least a war
how
band.
can we exaggerate this little point?
Yeah.
So one thing I was kind of curious about is the thing that really struck me about your art is how many different subject matters you were able to cover. A lot of artists that I get to talk to kind of find like a niche, and they really, which is great. You know, they find like their niche and they really enjoy it and have a lot of fun there. But I mean, your stuff, like we're talking like elves to humans to demons to even the lizardmen. Like some of my favorite original lizardmen pieces were by you, some of which have not changed at all. Like Oxiodal is exactly the same as you originally drew him. Back when I don't even like, which is insane to me. Like I go back and I look at the 5th edition lizards and I go, oh, those are nothing like modern lizardmen. But then you get to Oxiodal's artwork and you go, oh no, he's the exact same. He hasn't changed at all, because it was just that incredible. But it's like, it's weird to me, because it's almost like you knew where it was going to go, even though like obviously you didn't. But it's just, that's how much control was there, as far as, or how much skill I should say was there. But what I kind of wanted to ask you was, how were you able to approach such wildly different looking creatures or characters of that? You know, I tend to find with artists that I'm friends with and stuff who you know, a lot of them are kind of early in their journeys. They kind of find like something that they're good at and really try and nail that down.
Right.
But you were amazing at like all these different crazy things. Like how do you go from making something like the Lizardmen, like your original art for Lord Croak or Oxiodal, while also being able to tackle things like Marathi or Orion or Ariel, which are all completely different subjects almost?
Well, again, very kind of you to say so. It's just it's you have to be a generalist. You know, at the time when I was at the design studio in the early 90s, there was myself, John Blanche, Wayne England, and certainly in sort of 92, 93, 94, that was it. Dave Gallagher was there doing almost all covers, so almost all color stuff. But in terms of internal black and white illustration, if I'm forgetting anybody, I do apologize, but it was really just the three of us. So you just had to, as a new army book came up, it was like, okay, well, what do you want to do on this? And you can't say, no, I'm not really feeling it. No, don't do any high elves.
Lizards.
No, lizard, man. You just had to, strap yourself in and get on with it. So yeah, I mean, I was always reminding myself when I was doing that kind of stuff. Occasionally, you'd find yourself working on an army book. You're like, I'm not really feeling these guys. But then I'd remind myself that I started off painting posters for banks for insurance policies, and pest controllers. Oh, here's a cockroach going into a trap. Oh, you illustrate that. So, frankly, the chance to do anything fantasy or science fiction was a treat, really. Mm-hmm. It was very hard to find anything that you're like, oh God, not this again. Space Marine shoulder pads, eventually, I think I got a bit sick of.
There is a lot of similarities between all the chapters.
They're so hard to draw anything other than straight on, because as soon as I want to do a low angle, and you get the idea in your head for the character looking all sort of heroic, and as soon as you lift that elbow up, you block the head, you can't see the face. You go, oh no, okay, so the arm's got to come down. I've got to turn them that way slightly, and maybe turn the chin that way. And it's always such a rigmarole every time you want to draw a Space Marine doing anything other than standing there looking stoic.
Yeah, because everything's there's got to be joints in there somewhere.
Well, I remember,
they're not just forcing forward.
To prove a point, Jez Goodwin did a little series of line drawings of Space Marines in action, like running and holding weapons high and firing, just to demonstrate to all the artists that it could be done. If you understood the anatomy, it absolutely could be done. And one of those I just traced off from him, and I think I was drawing Longbeards for the Space Wolves, Long Fangs, sorry, for the Space Wolves. And he'd drawn a guy with a missile launcher up on the shoulder, and he was sort of holding his leg up and stood in that sort of taking aim shot. And I said, I'm just going to copy that from you. I just drew it off. Added a few wolf pelts right this thing. That's my long fangs done.
Carmine, I agree. He is an absolute legend come here. And if you're wondering why I keep looking over in this direction, it's because I have a whole bunch of his art pulled up. So I'm trying to constantly move around in it because I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to ask about this. I wanted to ask about this. So I'm pulled between actual Mark and Mark's art is what I'm looking at. That's what's going on every time you see me twitch off to the side.
I thought it might have been the bunnies. I thought the bunnies might have got
No, they're on that side, okay. But and they're sleeping, so they're good. But so I guess so you kind of talked a little bit of it was, you know, that collaborative effort. So when y'all were kind of approached to do a race that was completely new, like I'm totally not biased, but like, let's say the Lizardmen, for instance. I don't know how much of it you necessarily remember, but if when they came to you and were like, hey, we want to make this completely new race that's wildly different from anything we've done before. Here's kind of what we're thinking for their like designs. What kind of process did y'all go through from being like, okay, we want to have humanoid lizard guys to like nailing down the concept of a skink versus a saurus and what they would actually appear as?
It's interesting that you talk about the Lizardmen then, because I think it's a bit of an example of the evolutionary process happening in front of an audience, because I did the cover for 5th edition box set, which is Bretonians versus Lizardmen.
Yep. Great piece. Awesome.
Thank you.
Those knights just chasing down a bunch of skinks. It looks great in Saurus. It's very nice.
But if you look at the Lizardmen on that painting, they're not the same Lizardmen as eventually came out in the army book. There's no Aztec South American influence. They're more kind of sort of Stone Age primitive vibe to all the gear. Because when I began painting that illustration, the subtleties of design for the Lizardmen had not really been resolved, and that came sort of later. So they don't quite look like right Lizardmen. They don't quite have the subtlety of the shape language that we now associate with the Lizardmen. It's a bit lacking. It's a sort of a primitive version of it. And you could argue, oh, this particular Lizardman tribe is a slightly different faction to the ones we normally see in the army book, if you felt you had to. But they did actually evolve a little bit. So when we came around to do the army book, I was very aware that, oh yeah, we've dialed it in a lot more. And that I think that tends to happen over time anyway, but it usually happens at such a slower pace. It'll be sort of between editions, you know, you'll see, they're revisiting this particular faction, and you'll see new miniatures. Some of the old miniatures will be phased out, you know, new stuff will be brought in, new character types, new unit types. And that usually involves then a dialing down and a refining of the language, the archetypes, all the imagery. So it's very rare that it hits it right out the park first time out, because it is sort of it's part of a continually evolving process. If you look at the undead, you think about the undead. We look back to sort of the first army books, I guess 4th or 5th edition, where it's we've got mummies and vampires and all the zombies all under one thing, and then you look a couple of generations down and it's split into vampire counts and Tomb Kings, and then you look now, Age of Sigmar, you've got the Nighthorns, Ossiarch Bone Reapers.
Yeah, it just keeps further subdividing.
What the soul.
Yeah, the Soulblight Grave Lords, and then the Flesh Eater Courts. It's like,
right.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah. So that didn't happen overnight. That's like a 30-year evolution.
It's so interesting that even though within that evolution, there are times they kind of seem to like I don't like to say devolve, because that almost has like a negative implication, but like falling back as they're moving forward. Like one of the things that really jumped out at me, being like a really mainline Seraphon player, was that when we were getting the new Seraphon line about a year ago now, a little more recent than that, but when they made the new Lord Croak model, it's like an absolutely beautiful, brilliant piece, and it's so heavily designed on your version of Lord Croak as opposed to everything that came after. where he's like all wrapped up and he's got like the crossed arms with the twin sabers and everything. Like they went hard back to your design, and kind of abandoned a lot of the stuff they had done up to that point, which I thought was such a brilliant decision because it's so much more iconic looking. It has such a more I don't know if stately is the word, but certainly more threatening looking than kind of him just being all shriveled up on his chair. But it's so fascinating to me to watch how they kind of have these interactions with this artwork that was like originally created to work with these minis.
Right.
And then they kind of leave it behind, but then eventually they end up going back to it. Where they go, oh, wait, no, we can actually do this now. Or whatever it was that limited them back in the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, I say it's nice when that happens. I think maybe, I mean, I always felt I was drawing miniatures rather than illustrating, real world characters, fantasy characters. It was because I was such a gamer myself originally. I think I was always thinking from a miniatures perspective, or tabletop perspective. What's going to look good? If I'm drawing this thing and then I'm imagining it on the tabletop, what's going to be the best pose, and then what's going to be the most dynamic, what's going to be the most effective angle to render this creature from. And I think possibly over time they thought, oh, yeah, that's not a bad philosophy to take when we go in to make a new version of a miniature. As much as I love a lot of the artwork that's come since, that's more impressionistic, lots of sort of shadow and smoke, and very evocative. Whereas my stuff was more about draw the toy soldier.
Yeah, I was about, as you're saying that, I was just kind of thinking, a lot of the new art, it's a very nice illustration, but I think what you said that really jumps out at me is that a lot of your art literally looks like the mini, or it looks like I could see that they were either trying to recreate it and often, unfortunately, weren't able to pull it off back then. But a lot of the times nowadays, they actually are starting to pull it off, which is why seems to be why we're seeing so many of them coming back, is maybe they had these kind of these works that they're like, yes, this is what we always wanted to do, but we just couldn't with the tools they had at the time. When I think about like the new Prophetess and Lord Croak are just very easy examples of that. But even like looking at your old Nagash art that you made in '94, like that, I think has a relationship with the old Nagash mini, but the Nagash mini didn't necessarily pull off the look. Big hat Nagash is like that little Nagash, like he was delightful, but this art's like terrifying in an awesome way.
I mean, certainly, I mean, the limitations of again, the technology and the cost. I mean, if you said, oh no, we're going to make Nagash the same size as the plastic kit is now, but we're going to make it in lead. Imagine
I'm sure that
logistics, the casting and then shipping and pinning and assembly. It'd be a nightmare. It would be like the metal Thunderhawk that they did briefly.
My God!
Enormous. Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to open your own personal mine so we can make this many for you. So when you were creating these pieces, did you ever feel any kind of like concern or limitations because there was a mini involved? Like, were you ever kind of under the thought of like having certain borders in place of, okay, I don't want to go too much into this way or make this too big or too grand because it's supposed to be a artistic rendition of this miniature that's been created? Or did you not really worry about that as much?
No, I mean, really the opposite was true. It's like take the miniature and breathe life into it, make it more than it is on the tabletop. So you were sort of always encouraged to sort of run with that kind of stuff, to just take the miniature is one thing, the art is something else. Obviously if it's a piece of art that's meant to represent the same character that the miniature is meant to represent, assuming that the actual character is something else again, then it's okay to have different interpretations, as long as you can look at both and go, oh yeah, I see the commonality here. I see that this is Nagash, but in this illustration, there's smoke pouring off his staff. He's got hordes of zombies rising out of the ground around him, bats flying everywhere. We don't expect that on the miniature, but we understand that they exist. They're from the same world, same universe. They represent the same dread force of undeath.
Mm.
There
So
you go. Yeah, just do that.
we got a bit of a cheeky comment in here. I don't know if you're aware of the drama behind it, just because it's kind of funny in this community particularly. So Hammond asks, what are your thoughts on quaddles and if they should have beaks or not? I don't know if you're aware of the quaddle of you might have actually been the one to draw the art, but in the 5th edition Lizardman book, there's this big feathered serpent that's flying around with a little skink priest on its back. And there's been a lot of jokes on quaddles because I think they're based on the original myth of Quetzalcoatl being
the feathered serpent, the winged serpent.
Yeah. So there was a. So do you think that should come with a beak? Is the question.
Optional beak. I mean. Why not both? Can you not have?
I guess I could.
The beaked strain and the greater beaked coatl and the lesser lipped coatl. I don't know.
Yeah, it. When Total War created theirs, they ended up putting a bird beak on it, which caused some interesting conversations because all the original art it has like a serpent head or a dragon head. So it was just interesting.
I always think you've got to when you're mixing species, you sort of have to. You have to get the balance. You have to get the balance right. You don't want it to. If you can find a sweet spot where it incorporates all the coolest elements of both donor species, I think that's the best way to go. If you lean too far into the one area, I did a design for a creature called a wharf rat for League of Legends, and it's essentially a cross between a rat and a shark.
Okay.
So it's basic rat proportions, but it's got a lot elongated snout like a shark snout and a flattened flipper tail. And the color scheme is almost like a great white, where it's dark on the top, coming around to a pale underbelly. Mm-hmm. And then somebody said, "Oh, you should put a shark's fin on that." And I said, "No, if I put the shark's fin on it, it's a shark with legs." Right now, it's both the rat and the shark. So you got to hit that sweet spot between the two things. So it may be that the beak on the coatl is too birdy. But I don't know. I think it might be a case by case basis.
Yeah, that is actually really interesting. And yeah, sir, I do agree. That does sound. I could absolutely see the Skaven having something like that wandering around. Hammond, so interesting you bring this up because I was actually about to talk about a little bit when it comes to Croxagore design, because Mark actually did draw one of the like original Croxagores, and it's very scary looking. Look, it is a very heavily muscled, very tall, lanky creature, which you can kind of see how it's the Croxagore is probably one of the most interesting Lizardman designs, just how drastically it's changed literally every single edition, because I just feel Games Workshop seems that they just couldn't find a version they were happy with until very recently.
I mean, again, that's an example of sort of the evolving design, because you get, I guess, certainly when you're doing miniatures, because there's so much lead in and there has to be a certain amount of shelf life for whatever kit you make. You've got moments in which to get it right. So you always know with Games Workshop are never happy. They will go back to a design that you think, well, you can already buy that as a plastic kit, for example. No, they go back to it again just because they don't feel that they've nailed it yet. I think the new Croxagore is fantastic.
Yeah, I think they finally really hit it on the head.
It took a while. It took a few goes.
Yeah, I think it's the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So yeah, it's the 5th iteration on the Croxagore, which is wild. But so you kind of talked a little bit about like when creating new creatures, especially like hybridized creatures, that there are some really interesting challenges there. Are there any other challenges that really come to mind for you when it comes to like designing fantasy races or fantasy creatures, where someone comes to you and they're like, yeah, we kind of have this theme in mind of like, it's this critter with this critter, or we're kind of thinking of like this culture that sort of exists maybe, but we wanted to have like these kind of unique racial themings to it, or like it's this kind of creature but it has the equipment as if it comes from this sort of background. Is there anything that kind of jumps to mind for you when looking at bringing those kinds of creatures to life?
I mean, really just try and ensure that when you're pulling influences from all over the place, that it doesn't just look like it's been, cobbled together. It doesn't look like a kit bash,
Yeah, it don't look like an AI generated.
No, it's got to sort of hang together with some sort of believability. Even though there's always what we call the rule of cool. As long as it's cool, that's fine. It's true, but also if you can give it some sort of legitimacy, some sort of a narrative sense. I always look for what I call a hook within new design. Something that if somebody looks at it and doesn't know anything about it, they'll piece together a narrative based on just the imagery that they've seen, and that's actually something that is interesting and compelling. So that's always the biggest challenge for me, coming up with something that is coming up with that hook. That thing that just makes people go, oh yeah, cool.
Carmine, thank you very much for the super chat. Could you ask Mark how he would draw? I assume that's supposed to be Archaons, but got auto corrected to Archdeacon. But Archaon the Everchosen's mount. I think that's a great question. So Archaon the Everchosen, the big bad three-eyed king. So the whole thing of his mount is a shapeshifter, so it can technically take any form. It's just a demonic creature that can take what it's known as the steed of the apocalypse. Yeah. But other than that. And in original fantasy, they just made it a big demonic horse.
Yes.
And then in Age of Sigmar, of course, it's turned into the colossal three-headed dragon that, like, each of its chimeric heads is a different greater demon, which pretty cool. So Carmine's kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but is there anything that kind of jumps to your mind if someone was like, we need you to create the steed of the apocalypse for a guy with big, heavy chaos warrior and big, heavy armor to ride on? Is there anything that sort of leaps to your mind for that?
I do like the big classic, big black horse. I think it's hard to go wrong with that. Although I absolutely for Age of Sigmar, yeah, enormous.
Yeah,
massive chaos.
This dragon is kind of a follow-up question. I don't know why sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I do that a lot. Do you think there's anything to that kind of should be said about like purposefully understating when you have like a certain threat or a certain character, in the sense that what does Dorgar the demonic horse offer that? Because I imagine for a lot of people they go, oh well, that's a big three-headed flying dragon creature, so obviously that's the better choice.
Right. Yeah. I'm yes, to take your point about understated. I absolutely understand for like tabletop presence in a battlefield role, giant miniature hero riding giant beastie is sort of significant. But I'm a sucker for the your Frank Frazetta death dealer archetype. Just as the new harbinger of pestilence.
Oh, harbinger of decay.
Yes.
Yeah, that really
hunched figure sat on a rotting horse. Just give me that. I just want that. Yes, you could do a three-headed dragon of decay. That would actually be pretty cool too. But you can't beat a menacing horse stood on a hill with a hunched rider. From all the way back in Tolkien, it was there.
Yeah. So how much? Actually, that's really interesting. I didn't even think of it from like an inspiration length of like that, the dread that's kind of inspired by the spooky guy on a horse that kind of calls back to so many different fantasy IPs, and also probably our history as well. I imagine there are probably times in human history where a lone rider on a horse was probably not a good thing.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And obviously, if he turns up on a three-headed dragon, that's not good either.
That's actually really interesting. I think there can be a lot to be said about that. Dread maybe kind of loses its effect when you get a little too bombastic.
When the menace goes away and it's the flagrant horror of it. I found this, and when every Hollywood movie first embraced CG and thought, we don't have to do stuff with smoke and mirrors anymore. We can just do give you all these effects. And obviously the tech wasn't quite there, so you ended up with a lot of very ugly, movies. In the late
they haven't aged particularly well.
No, and you could argue that even now it's like, yes, you can do it right now, but you don't have to every time,
Yeah. So if you're kind of thinking about Dorgar, is there anything that would kind of jump to your mind of what how would you, if you're like taking a horse and you want it to be like, in truth, it's this horrible abomination that's here to bring the end of the world, but keeping it kind of vaguely horse shaped. Is there anything that sort of jumps to mind of particular traits you might lean on, or particular other universes you might use for inspiration when you're like approaching a piece like that?
I mean, I think you play with the proportions, play with it. I mean, everything from number of limbs, number of eyes, just sort of the things that aren't quite right. Like, well, it's a horse, but what's going up with its teeth? What's got these huge, great scything fangs, and its hooves are sort of clawed, and the what are those chaos knights, the Varangard?
Yeah, the Varangard.
Those three characters, they were amazing. Yeah, they've really got they nailed the chaos horse.
Yeah, they kind of just took the demonic steed and were like, what if we made a unit of these instead of just a character of them?
Yeah, so I
like,
love.
I would, very scary.
I would rather build and paint a bunch of those than Archaon's massive 3-headed.
Also, Lindsay says hello. Lindsay, thank you for coming by. Great to see
Lindsay.
you. So another thing that kind of okay, we got another super chat here that popped in that said, will you ask if there's any fantasy race you would like to see in 40K that's not already there? That's a very specific question. So if you could take any fantasy race and I guess 40K-ify them, which I think could come with some really, really cool things. Is there anyone that sort of goes to the head of the pack for you?
Yeah, Skaven. Yeah.
Skaven really, like, some of them look like they wouldn't even have to change. Like Icket Claw could easily just just drop him in.
Yeah, just taking that tech. I mean, Jez wouldn't want to just go, oh, let's just give him space bubble helmets and change the guns. Jez would want to really kind of breathe a whole life and civilization and history into them, because otherwise it's a bit of a lazy.
Yeah, well, like Skaven,
for sure.
their whole concept where Skaven are all about cannibalizing other people's tech and then making it work with even more dangerous, unreliable fuel sources. Because like you have orcs, which kind of use orky nonsense to loot things. But I think with Skaven, the real magic is that they make it even more dangerous to them as well as the opponent. Which could be a lot of fun.
You think of Skaven at the heart of the Empire, right? They are the city below, the world of men. So you go, okay, well, let's go back to Terra. Let's go to the Imperial Palace. Let's have been in the catacombs beneath the Imperial Palace is where the Skaven are born. Okay, well, how can we move that out into the wider universe? You know,
wow, that would actually be a really fun thing to explore from a story perspective of like the Skaven use humanity to get initially to start spreading, and it's like kind of always been there as a shadow. That'd be spicy. That'd be really spicy.
So the Skaven would be my immediate choice. You know, just do a kill team to start with. Let's not go crazy. Let's make an amazing kill team.
I've been really enjoying the kill team sets as far as like allowing them to explore. Like the Beastman kill team, I was so happy to see that. Like I know there are Beastmen in 40K, but like they're so underappreciated. So it was really cool seeing that kind of brought to life. So, I mean, is there anything that like a subject matter that is in either 40K or fantasy that you would love to see kind of brought to the forefront that just isn't really there anymore? Either they never got minis or they're just not supported nowadays. Is there anything that kind of jumps to mind for you? If someone came to you and was like, hey, we want you to draw these up so we can make minis of them.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the kit bash. So I like to take existing miniatures and sort of pervert them a little bit. I'm working on a kill team for fallen Sororitas, the Adeptus Sororitas that have fallen to chaos, and I'm chopping them all up with Warcry miniatures like the Cabal. So they've all got these sort of feathered beaked outfits. They're all sort of, it's an inquisitorial warband. Massive. Yeah. Sisters of Heresy.
That is a pretty popular ask. I think I see around a lot is that kind of chaos renegade idea of like Imperial Guard and Sisters and all these guys that have fallen, but you know, right now it's just Chaos Space Marines and that's it. You know, it's like, where's all the cultists? Where's all the other guys that actually make things work within that chaos system? Can't just all be Space Marines.
No, I mean we're certainly you're seeing a lot more of all the chaos cultist miniatures and things are all coming in now. But it's always like, I want to use them, I want to chop them and make new things with them, and then work out which army list works best. You know, when I want to bring this to the tabletop. But I'm a sucker for the kit bash for making my own stuff. I've got an orc kill team. They're orc bikers, but you can't have motorcycles in kill team, so they're all running around with handlebars and with a gun
the Monty
strapped to the handlebars.
They're just making rev noises.
Yeah.
So
only one of them has a wheel. The boss has a wheel on his forks, but the rest of them don't. But they've all been cast out from the original clan. So there's Blood Axes and Evil Sons and Death Skulls. You know, just all cobbled together in this loose biker fraternity. They are the Sons of Anarchy.
Oh my God. I hate that as much as I like it. Which is that's when you have a good one. It's when it's awful.
Yes. So that's the stuff I enjoy, just sort of messing with it a little bit.
Looking through some of the other pieces, one of the pieces that I know I keep going back to it, but it's because I have a theme or something. When I look at the Lizardman pieces, one of the ones that really jumps out at me that I've been pleading and begging the Total War guys to try and slip into their game is the skinks on horned ones, because we have the Tichuichi art that you did.
Yes,
Tichuichi's Raiders. And I love them so much of like, skinks that are like more melee focused and ride like these scary dinosaurs and stuff. And I was so sad when the Dogs of War went away, but then in Age of Sigmar, they brought them back. And now we have two variants of skinks riding dinosaurs into combat that aren't just pterodons, which it's like, okay, well, I've got them in tabletop. Give them, I need my video game version.
Yeah. Are they doing that? Are they migrating units back from Age of Sigmar?
To my understanding, when the old world comes back, the answer is vaguely yes, though we're not sure to what extent. So like any of the new minis that have a direct 1-to-1, you can use them 100%. Like the new Saurus Warriors and the new Kroxigors, you can absolutely use them in the old world. But like the skink riders, which could technically be horned one riders, we'll have to see.
House rules.
House rules. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use them. Someone can try and stop me. But like, I know one of Andy's favorite pieces that you did is your Swordmaster of Hoeth.
Oh, right.
Back when the Tower of Hoeth was very, very different in concept, where it's this giant pillar that has a city at the very tippy top, instead of like the more modern art where they made it into like that really slender tower. But like, I really love that your elves and your dwarves as well, they're so inhuman looking in like a great way, of that they're not just humans with pointy ears or humans that are short. Like they have such unique proportions and like aspects to them, whether it's their eyes or other parts of their bodies that make them look very alien. Which I think it's such an interesting thing in fantasy that I think tends to be such a trap people fall into, of that their non-human races are just human plus. It's a human with a pointy ear, or humans with just extra big beards or whatever it may be. Is there anything like when you're kind of approaching a race of keeping it like recognizably humanoid, and not having it too ridiculous, is there anything you kind of look for as your go-to checklist for like, how can I make these guys really stand out and be like, if you look at them from a distance, they might be human, but when you get close, you go, oh no, definitely not.
I think it varies from race to race. Obviously, with the proportions in the face is always a huge thing. You don't want a dwarf just to look like a chunky Scotsman. You do really want to. You do want to, although I've seen a few Scotsmen that do look very dwarven. You want to how heavy are the brows, how far apart are the eyes, how deeply sunk into the skull, what are the masses of the skull, like the breadth of the nose and all that kind of stuff. It's all, hopefully it all plays in, and what you end up with is not just like, it's a human in a big comedy beard. Same with the elves as well. There's sort of a gracefulness to the features, an elongation of the shapes. And the eyes, I always do my elven eyes without pupils or irises,
Yeah,
because that's how Jez Goodwin drew them.
Yeah, I love that version. Like that was such a big thing for me with Vermintide when they released Carillion. She doesn't have those. She has like almost pure black eyes. And it's so much more like intimidating, but also kind of beautiful looking than just regular eyes. And it's like, so much more interesting. And it also kind of feels like maybe that can help explain why they like see so much better than us, and they can like see things that we can't because their eyes are just so fundamentally different. And it should be represented visually, which is so great. Because
it's unsettling when you see it. It's unsettling. Now, Jez, Jez will tell you that he thinks the reason he draws elves without, or eyes in generally without pupils or irises, is because he has been the victim of alien abduction, and he says that's one of the things. That's one of the sure signs that you've been abducted by aliens is that you stop drawing eyes properly. I don't know if that's true.
The world will never know.
I always thought, the sort of jeweled, almost sort of polished, jeweled feel to their eyes it just made them unhuman or inhuman in a way that really worked. But yeah, it's I think you've got to be careful there when it does mean if you're trying to illustrate them and you need to communicate subtle gesture or expression. If you suddenly don't really have the eyes to play with, you're making your life a little harder. You know, if you can't show the angle of the eyes you're looking at, they're unreadable. It lends them and makes them enigmatic, but you also kind of hamstringing yourself a little bit in terms of communicating a particular feeling. So it's a swings and roundabouts thing.
So I do want to go ahead and start getting into some questions from the community just to make sure that we have time to get through them all. So I do have one question in particular from a GM that runs my Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay sessions on Sundays. And he told me to ask you about Felix Jaeger's pants. And he said you would know what that was about. And I was like, anything
Felix's
specifically
pants.
about them? And he was like, he'll like, I wonder if he's still here. But because you drew,
I know Felix. Are we talking about his trousers or his underpants? Because there's a definite distinction between the two.
Okay, does one of them jump out at you as would be something someone would ask about?
No, I didn't know, but I mean, you know, it's if we're getting into underpants, it's starting to get a little more sinister. But I have to say, no, I don't. What would have been significant about Felix's pants? I don't know. I got criticized for my pants.
Yeah, he didn't give me anything specific.
I got
like Gotrek's pants. I get they're very like striped and crazy looking.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the sculptor, Felix Jaeger, the
adventurer, Gotrek's buddy. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Felix Pangaea. I thought, well, Felix, what? Felix is
no, Jaeger.
Gotrek's his buddy. Yes. I gave him stripy pants because I was the first guy to draw him, and he's had stripy pants ever since. Yeah.
Wait, was there anything?
That was it. No. If why I gave him stripy pants, I don't know. It's just I'm going to give him stripy pants, and then that's and then the miniature was painted up with the blue and white stripes, and then every single painting of Felix since then, he's had the striped pants. Yeah, I mean, he could change them. I mean, he doesn't have to keep wearing them.
There's no epic story behind it. You didn't have a pair yourself, and you just wanted to have them in the world.
No, I did. I remember Adrian Smith gave me a hard time once because I was back in the 80s and into the 90s. I was a bit of a rock and roller, and I used to wear sort of leggings and biker boots. And I remember getting a hard time for wearing ladies' tights. So I thought that's where we might have been going. But no, it was just I'm going to give him stripy trousers, and it's
remarkable.
He has forever worn the stripy trousers.
Like, it's remarkable for me for like how famous Gotrek and Felix are, where they got so many books, they got so much art, they're in the video games and stuff. They have not changed. They have been the exact same for like 30 plus years. Which is just incredible.
I mean, sure. I mean, maybe he's got a tailor. Maybe there's a specific tailor he goes to, and well,
I imagine like
always wants to. Maybe there was Lucky Pants, And
that could be it. They're ward safe pants.
They've been repaired 10,000 times, but he can't possibly live without them.
I mean, I imagine traveling with Gotrek all the time, you probably don't carry too many.
I think there's a novella. There's a novella, or at least a short story, Felix's Pants. The Ballad of Felix's Pants.
That would not surprise me in the slightest.
There should be one. Somebody, Black Library, get on it now.
So man, Carmen, thank you being very generous this stream. So it said Carmen says, ask Mark if he was going to play 40k and had to pick between these three armies, would he choose Orcs, Eldar, or Imperial Guard?
Orcs. Because they allow me the greatest opportunity to kit bash.
There you go.
I'm probably
kit bashing seems to be very near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, and I think honestly, my play style is such that Orcs, that's the best I can do. Really, I love Eldar. I've enjoyed the Eldar painted over the years. I've really enjoyed them. I've actually got a slightly kit bashed set of the Void Scar, the kill team, the pirates.
They're
called Eldar
the freebooters. The freebooters, yeah.
And I did a bit of kit bashing with some Dark Eldar and mixed some bits up. I haven't got around to painting them yet, which is always my issue too. But Orcs, I just Orc. An Imperial Guard. I mean, maybe there might be a unit that I really like. But Orcs would be my go-to. Goths probably.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have some questions here from the community. So Scythe Pedals asks, what character or faction from Warhammer Fantasy did you enjoy working on the most?
Undead or Skaven, I think probably. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to say Skaven.
I mean, it's a good pick. And you've made some really, you even have some pieces like fairly recent as well for like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I think.
Oh, I did one. Yeah.
It's got like the assassin coming out of the well or something.
Yes. Yeah. When I first started working with Andy Law, and it was on Rough Nights and Hard Days, and he gave me sort of list of the pieces they need illustrating, and one of them was a Skaven. I said, well, I'm obviously doing that.
Yes. So I just wanted to show the chat that just because of like how amazing his pieces are, this is literally based off of one of Mark's drawings. This Lord Croak that is the modern version.
Yeah, the fundamental across the sort of the bound mummified corpse thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really the only difference is that he floats now instead of being carried. But it's like it's so fucking good. It holds up so well all these years later. It's a
great looking miniature. Yeah. I mean, Games Workshop want to continue giving little nod back to those old pieces. I'm delighted.
Hopefully, they're sending royalty checks too.
You jest.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I hear that.
It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works anywhere, to be honest. I can't blame Workshop for that.
Should.
It's not. It's just that no. The art is bought off you the moment you do it, and all rights are disappear with it. But it's still nice. I'm getting long way to continue. I know there's a piece coming up. I'm not sure when, but Whispers in the Warp have revealed that a certain Necromunda character is returning.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And I think she's getting new art based on my original illustration.
Well, I look forward to seeing that reveal stream.
So,
we have a comment in from White for Wolf. Gork or Mork?
Why not both?
He says Gork. No, I mean Mork. I mean maybe Gork. Or possibly, yeah, Gork or possibly Mork. Yeah. Kabanda.
Probably Mork and probably Gork.
Kabanda asks of good old Greater Demon showing up for the chat. My least favorite Greater Demon. Always good to see him invading. Says he's a fan of your Khorne Terminator art, but must ask what mad genius made you give him a chainsaw finger.
Is it? I can't remember. Is it two? Is it the two? Because he's still got little finger. I think he's missing the little finger, but he's still got he can still pick things up, and then the two fingers in the middle of the chainsaw. I think because I wanted that hand to be expressing, because his other hand is down with the pistol, and I wanted a gesture here, a cruel gesture, and it's very hard to do that if all the things are gone. So I think doing that it kind of gave me that thing.
Yeah, and Zombieland pointing out some more minis based on your art recent times of the new Fabius Bile design and Helbrecht, his servitors. Yeah, it seems like there's a model designer at Games Workshop who seems like they're just kind of going through your old catalogs and it's like, yes, I will do this one, and I'll do this one, and I'll do this one. There's a very big fan over there.
Somebody there that still likes my stuff. It's nice. Yeah, it's lovely.
Godzilla sending a super chat. Ask Mark what he thought about the Chaos Dwarf trailer for Total War Warhammer and how Creative Assembly combined the aesthetics of the original designs with the modern Forge World design.
I thought it was great. I thought it was true to the original spirit, but also kind of had enough kind of new stuff. I think it was the color schemes I was most surprised by, that they went with that classic red, blue, and yellow, because I thought, nah, they won't do that, and they did. And I'm like, oh wow, you really leaned hard into the old school.
Yeah, I was shocked when they revealed that Astrogoth was going to be based on his actual mini.
Yeah,
instead of like, I thought he was going to be like a full Dreadnought Terminator thing, but it's like they made it work. It works great.
I think so too. Yeah, that was really fun.
We got another question in from the Deacon Bosco, who asks, what are your thoughts on the modern art direction that Games Workshop has been pursuing? And if you had to give them any advice, what would it be?
I like a lot of it. I think they have more of a kind of unified feel and vibe to all the art now. Back when I was there, and certainly in the time before I was there, there was a much wider variety of a lot of different styles. When I really liked that, because I thought these are just different interpretations of this universe, and I think all is legitimate. I don't think all art needs to look the same. Right. I understand why they like that from a marketing point of view, because it's easier to understand. If everybody's Space Marines look like the miniature, then it's easier connection, easier sell. But I like the range of interpretation, because I think it encouraged players and collectors to actually put some of their own spin on the miniatures as well. It was like, well, if the artists are doing it, I'm going to do it too. When I paint them, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this head swap, or I'm going to change this bit around, because I've seen that reflected in the art.
I think I definitely agree. As far as I understand why they homogenize it, but I did kind of prefer the older styles when looking at in the 6th edition fantasy books versus the later ones, where the later ones, it felt like one artist did all the art for a single book.
Yes.
Which it's like, yeah, okay, but it also kind of made the races feel less large, less realistic, because realistically they wouldn't all look the same. There'd be different cultures within them and different subgroups, and
because you've always got the photographs of the miniatures, right, to show that consistency. So I like a little variety, although I do enjoy how much the art draws you in with the atmosphere, and I think that's a big bonus that the current art style has is a sort of ominous depth and darkness and terror to it that I think is quite inspiring. But I also like to see illustrations that are more like toy soldiers and sort of variety of interpretation. I'd like to see for something like I haven't seen the Cities of Sigmar book. I love the new miniatures.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm excited for that book.
But I'd love to see a breadth of artistic interpretation in there. It'd be lovely to see, here's one artist who has illustrated this particular range of miniatures like they're old woodcuts, wildly different styles and wildly different interpretation. And here's some loose pen and ink work, and here's a labored oil painting, and it's all windows into that same universe.
One of the things that kind of jumps to mind with your description there is that one of the things I really loved about 6th edition fantasy in particular that was lost in later editions is there were a lot of art pieces in the books that felt like people in the world created them, where it's it's an actual artist using the limitations that they had to draw sketches or paintings on creatures they've seen.
Yeah.
which is made for some really exciting pieces. That's, I guess I should say that's not all of the later books didn't do that. Like I know the 8th edition Big Red Book used like a different art style for every race, which was really cool. Of like the vampire counts had like this really smeared, weird looking horror art, and then like the demons were a very different type of horror style, but then like the Empire was much cleaner and nicer, which was interesting. And it's like I kind of wish they fiddled around with that more.
I like it. I like it when the lines between layout, graphic design, and illustration sort of blur a bit, as long as you're not losing readability, because these are ultimately rule books that players have to pick up and be able to flip to page to instantly. If you've got to wade through all these heavily illustrated text frames, and it gets a little challenging. But I think there's always an opportunity to drop some of that embrace some of the world that the books and the games are set in, and bring that into the real physical world. I think that's always nice when you get a little bit of that happening.
Our next question coming in from Desert Fox. Oh, I'm sure this is a question you've heard many times, but like as someone that is technically, I guess, a creator, I hate this question, which is, what would you say is your magnum opus? The one that you have the most pride in. It's like, who's your favorite kid?
Man, I don't. Well, that is a tough one. Is it?
Yeah, which is, it's one of those questions I'm sure changes like depending on when you're asked it.
Yeah, it depends on how I'm feeling about something. I'm certainly a lot of really sort of pleased with what I managed to achieve with the little board game that I made a few years ago, Dark Deeds, with Andy Chambers, who your viewers may well know. And that because
one
that
of the
because it was
weirdly large amount of Andys.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
So many of them.
So that was really fun to do because it was art and graphics and had a bit of a little hand in the design. And we're doing a second edition of that now with Rookery. So to revisit that has been really fun. So I'm really, considering it was just a little independent project, it's close to my heart. But then of the big, I mean, World of Warcraft, some of the stuff I did there, I worked on the number of expansions, and to do stuff like Cataclysm, which was the first expansion I was on from the start, and you build the starting zones for new races, for the Worgen and the goblins and stuff, and you build these little immersive worlds. I actually played the
Worgen starting zone. That was a ton of fun.
And again, it's
also really depressing.
Well, that was the brief.
Yeah.
It is so rewarding to see players sort of spend time and develop love for the worlds that you had a hand in creating. I think that's the stuff that sort of sticks with you and resonates with you. The stuff that not affects me so much, but affects the people that get to experience it. I think that's the stuff that really, really sticks, really warms and resonates. And then weird little stuff like I did the design for Jinx's rocket launcher, Fishbones in League of Legends.
Fishbones? Oh my god! Wow, that has to be crazy with like Arcane, considering how important Fishbones is.
Oh, it was the last shot in Arcane. I said, "Where's my fucking rocket launcher?"
It's a beautiful scene. That rocket launcher is like one of the highlights of the entire show.
it was really weirdly exciting to be, I
cannot believe you made Fishbones. That is bonkers.
Well, I've got
shouldn't surprise me, but like,
I'm very excited for this Christmas because they've made a Nerf version of it, and I managed to get an order in.
Oh my god!
This Christmas, I'm getting my Nerf.
A Nerf rocket launcher? That sounds it's a little dangerous.
It looks amazing. So the pre-orders went up for it like a year in advance. And I said, okay, who do I know at
send me one
in the Nerf organization who I can hit up and make sure I get one.
Well, that's fantastic.
So it's weird little things like that because I am a massive nerd and fanboy myself. So I love my props. I love my bits and loads of it dotted around here.
Yeah, I don't want to assume.
Do you want your own Nerf gun? I go, yes, I want my own Nerf gun. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't want to assume, but like it is so awesome that so many of the things that you have, like not just a finger in a pie, but like the whole hand, are like just exploding nowadays of like love and creation for them, and like they're coming out as like shows and video games and like all this other stuff. It's gotta be wild to see like art coming to life in so many different ways.
I've let it be known within, because I live in Southern California, I've let it be known that if Henry Cavill's looking for an art director for his show, he knows where to find me.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
I mean, come on.
He should.
Jesus, Henry. You know, you don't have to go down to the same route that they put you through on The Witcher. You can surround yourself with people that respect, that understand the law, won't mess it up.
Such a waste. That was such a waste.
I'm not expecting the call, but it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Hey, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. So we got a question in here from the chat from my Sunday GM. He asked, did you have any culture shock when you had to move from the Warhammer setting to the Warcraft setting? Because there's of course there's a whole history there, but like there's a lot of really strong parallels, but they have such distinct styles.
It took me a little while, I think, to just ramp up the scale of everything, exaggerate everything, because even as overblown as Warhammer is,
pauldrons are like infamous for like even 40K can't stand up to the size of those things.
No, so all my sketch work quite rapidly became more exaggerated, more cartoon, but the underlying design aesthetic was similar. More whimsical with WoW for sure, but still fundamentally, you know, you take those archetypes. Yeah, you put your assassin in a cloak and give him a cloak and a dagger, and away you go. You know what I mean? But it's a goblin and it's got massive, huge, spiky shoulder pads, and So it's just a question of poking more fun at it. Even though you could be argued that there was plenty of that going on in Warhammer when I was working on sort of 4th and 5th edition, when we brought in things like squig hoppers, there's enough silly. There was plenty of silly going on then, and I think when it came to WoW, it was just tune up a little more,
just even more.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very nice, sweet little comment in from Viper Wolf. Appreciate it. He says, please tell Mark, thank you for everything you put into Image. A lot of what I love.
Thank you so much, Viper Wolf.
Which I could not agree more. We have another question in from Scythe Petals, who said he's a massive fan of your Green Knight piece.
Oh, right.
Are you able to describe anything in particular that you enjoyed or felt challenged by when it came to drawing the Green Knight?
The green ink was a little less forgiving than I thought it was going to be initially. And then painting all this sort of swirly leaf detail on the horse's caparison.
It is a pretty delicate piece. Like,
I always feel sorry for the painters that feel obliged to replicate that. I'm like, oh man, sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's not forgiving, is it?
Yeah, like not only are these like beautiful leaf, like they're all leaves too. So it's not like it's just like thin lines. Like there's different layers of thickness and color.
Like I'm just there because it's a big painting, you know. I'm just there just doing swirly.
You got that poor guy with the like
and then some poor miniature painter cursing me for drawing it like this.
There's some people that have carpal tunnel out there thanks to Mark Gibbons.
I mean, it could have been worse. I could have done it on the back on the pennants as well, but the pennants are just in stripes. I think I'd probably had enough at that point.
See, our next question from Maharaja of End. He asks, are there any factions or races in Warhammer Fantasy that you always wanted to make artwork for but never got the chance? He gives the Tigermen of End as an example.
I mean, there was. I mean, although I worked on pretty much everything that came out while I was there, I never did any artwork for the Empire. I'd love to do the Empire now. I don't think I ever did anything for. So yeah, Kislev. I never did anything for Kislev or anything like that either.
Well, it's like nowadays we've got what? We got Grand Cathay, we've got Kislev, the Empire.
And for 40k, the Inquisition and the Adeptus Sororitas were after my time as well, or between my time. So I never got to do any of that stuff. Although I did a couple of Sisters of Battle for the trading card game, but I never did anything for the main studio.
Interesting. Fish people. Listen, chat. I love the fish people. Don't torture Mark with the fish people.
Haven't you got? Didn't the Ideneth? Was that not enough for you? Did you not get?
No. I need the Warhammer Fantasy fish people. I need the troglodyte, needle fanged, creepy guys from beneath the waves.
I'm sure they're coming. I'm sure it's only a matter of time.
I'll keep my fingers crossed. Come on, I know Creative Assembly wants to just keep printing money. Come on, guys.
Yeah. They just got to work out how to get them out of the water. Big bubble helmets, I assume.
Yeah. Hey, if the elves are able to ether seed, we'll make an invisible magic ocean.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Cool, whatever.
I guess plastic technology now, you just do clear fish bowls to stick on their heads. That'll be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Let's see. Ice Song asks, how deep into the lore of a unit or character do you read when you're asked to draw them?
I mean, it depends. Oftentimes there isn't any, or there's very little. It's not always been sketched out. If there's stuff to read, I read all of it. I read whatever's relevant to the art that's required. Sure, if there's background I need to read, I absolutely read it. Although I'm not, generally speaking, a lore master beyond what's required for the character.
So just curious, what's like the littlest you've been given in the past? Like, has someone ever just walked up to you and they're like, here's a single sentence, go figure it out?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of examples, but certainly yes, because sometimes what you're being asked to do is essentially expand on a proof of concept. Do we think this will make a good miniature? Do we think this will make a good illustration? Here's a one sentence description. I'll go away and give it a go. I mean, with I mentioned the squig hoppers, and they weren't going to be squig hoppers. Oh well, Rick Priestley was not sure about them. He thought they might have been a bit too silly. And I said, I think they'd be great. Let me go and draw one. So I drew one. And he went, yeah, we'll put them in. So
I love that. They're like practically their own sub race in AOS now. Which is like there's like all these different variants, and there's like armored versions now, and it's like there's such a whole they're a whole thing.
Yeah, everybody agreed that the goblin the squig hunters and the goblin netters were fine, but there was concern that the hopper might be a joke too far. Yeah, I'm glad it's in that not to be the case.
Yeah, and then they're like, okay, well now we're gonna make manglers, the mangler squids.
Yeah, we'll take two giant ones and chain them together.
Yeah, and it's just gotten more and more, and now they're I think they're called like loon squig bounders or something. Which in the AOS they have lances and they wear like
I love
knight armor.
Yeah, I love those guys. Those are fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely amazing. So I'm very glad you drew that piece of art.
Me too.
So we got those.
Me too. Yeah.
Dawi asks, Dawi 4, was there an art piece you made that? Well, actually, okay, we just talked about that. He was asking if you've made any art that influenced the lore, and there you go, squig hoppers.
Yeah, I mean, and oftentimes it was there would be a very very brief from a writer. And it was, well, this character needs to have, here's a weapon it needs to have, here's a thing that it does. And then you sort of fill in the blanks. And then the writer will take those filled in blanks and incorporate them into the lore. Or sometimes the rules as well, if that's required.
Yeah, so I guess, is there anything you ever recall making on a piece where like a writer or somebody saw it and was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to make this like a part of the character now because it's so awesome looking.
I'm trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of something specific. There was. There was. I mean, I think of. I'm trying to just because we talked a little bit about not working with Nigel Stillman, and I think when I did Orion, I'm not sure he had. I'm not sure he had. He would have had the hunting horn for sure. He might not have had the dogs. I don't remember. I might have.
I'm looking at your piece of him where he's got the hounds, which became so iconic to his design. Where the fact that like they even later got minis, I think in a later 6th edition, which was later.
So I mean, there was certainly
instances. And your Orion is so scary looking. I love his design.
Thank you. When I did a concept sketch when I was working on the Black Templars, and I did Chaplain Grimaldus with his retinue, and they were there was no brief for that at all. I got the idea that I was a little concerned at the time might be crossing a line, which was the idea of the servitor carrying the Aquila. I was a bit concerned that it was a little too Christ-like, Christ carrying the cross, and I thought, this might be, I might push this beyond an acceptable line, just because so much of the Imperium draws on a lot of that what would be old Earth. Religious iconography and stuff. Like, I'm not sure this might be. It might be too blatant, is what I thought. And the powers that be saw it and said, "Yes, we're going to make that. We're doing that as a set of miniatures." Like, awesome, and then they get written up and they become part of the lore and that kind of stuff. So it happens, and it often happens with concepts. Obviously, with concepts because that's part of the brief. But with illustrations, elements in illustration too. Can certainly, that's when it's working really well. That's when the relationship between art and design and sculpting,
which I think is ideal,
working beautifully. You don't want it pigeonholed into them. This is your job. You just do what we tell you to do. You draw this thing and you sculpt this thing, and then you write about it. It's so much better when it's all working as a big old melting pot of ideas.
And Viguero, definitely agree. We always need more squigs, so we thank Mark for that.
My pleasure.
Asked, were there any strict guidelines you had to follow when designing that applied to all characters within a certain setting? What were some of the limitations you had to work within?
I can't think of anything. In as much as the characters exist within a universe, and you're expected to stick within the confines of that. But if there's a reality, if there are rules of the world, if you're dealing with fantastical characters and creatures, there are boundaries that you can push against, and sometimes those are the most fun to test. But I think the rule of cool is ever present. So if you have an idea for a character or a creature that is outside the conventional bounds, but you say, no, actually this could work. There's an internal logic to this that would make sense, and then you get to pitch it to the designers or the writers. So I know you told me to do this, but I thought of this. What do you reckon? And if your argument is compelling enough, there's a reasonable likelihood that they'll roll with it.
Awesome. Lindsay, coming in here, do you ever get told you didn't have enough skulls?
No.
we need more skulls.
No, never enough skulls. Never enough.
So Islington asked, how do you feel about the evolution of Warhammer art over the years, and is there anything that you think may have prompted the way Warhammer art has evolved?
Losing their art director hasn't helped. I don't think. I think John Blanche was always a great guiding hand, and though he has now retired, he had stepped back from sort of the day-to-day art direction for a number of years, and I think in the artwork, I think there's a tendency. I'm going to say this now, but I don't. I'm going to then counter it, but I don't think it's true with the miniatures, because I think the artwork feels a little safer, but the miniatures conversely don't. And I think that's because you've still got people like Jez Goodwin and Brian Nelson and Seb Perbert just doing amazing design work from that point of view. That I do feel like the cutting edge of the art at Games Workshop is in the miniatures these days more than the illustration. I think that's been heading that way for quite some time, and that's not a criticism of the illustration work, because I think there's some beautiful art there, but I think it's less revolutionary than it once was.
Yeah, like there's, you know, when you say that, I do very much agree. There's a lot of really pretty art, but it doesn't kind of feel like necessarily in the old days where it felt like a lot of the older art was a little more bold in a sense of like, I feel like when I look at a lot of the old art, I look at it and I go, oh man, I would love to have that like blown up as a poster on my wall. Whereas when I look at a lot of the new art, I go, okay, this is a nice compliment to what I'm reading, or this is a nice like system to build the story that I'm kind of flipping through. But I don't really see a lot of them as like, oh, I want this as a painting or like a photo on my wall. It's just kind of more of like, oh, this is nice. Not all the time, like there are exceptions, but that's kind of an interesting there's definitely a difference.
I think as the company has gotten bigger, I think that the artist's position in the, not even the hierarchy, but just in the pipeline is further along than it used to be. It used to be earlier, and you used to get artwork that was a little bit more surprising, a little bit more dramatic, because it was still, you know, the product was still being figured out. Now it's like by the time the illustrator comes in, everything else is taken care of, the concept art, the miniatures, you know, it's just like that. You now need to draw a picture of this, and consequently it's kind of, and it needs to be in this style because this is the style we've established. This is what our players expect to see when they go into a Games Workshop shop and pick up a copy of the book. They don't want to be taken by surprise, really. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming that that's a conversation that's happening, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just this is the feel now they want with all the books, and they wanted to have this sort of vibe. I think you still get a variety when you look at like sometimes like Black Library novels and things like that. You go, oh, wow,
covers. I love the cover art. Yeah,
I think there is more freedom there, but I think on the actual books it tends to be a little bit more on the codices and the army books. It tends to be a little bit more predictable.
Yeah, like one thing I've noticed is that like if they release a campaign book, the campaign books tend to have like these spectacular, really interesting pieces that are depicting like what's happening in the narrative, where they're like, oh, we want to show off like this really epic battle or like this big thing that's happening. Whereas the army books, you kind of have like, here's a picture of this unit, or here's a picture of this character, and those tend to feel a lot more tame, for whatever reason that may be, which is kind of my favorite cover of the last probably the last year or so is actually the limited edition cover for the Empire Cities of Sigmar book, which is just the graphics. It's all those diamond all the city banners,
sigils on it. I just think that's an amazing piece of graphic design, completely different from what you would expect to see, and not what's on the regular cover. But it's
normal covers being like, here's a guy from this army.
Yeah, here's a couple of dudes. That's fine. But the special edition was like, oh my god, that's amazing, and it's just such a bold choice. It just made me. It stirred up old, long repressed feelings.
I agree.
Remember when covers would come along and make me go, oh wow. So,
I got the limited edition Seraphon cover because it has like this big bold symbol, and it's got like this really unique like background art style, as opposed to just the generic art, which is just another Saurus on the front page.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Yes. Unusual or unexpected covers. I understand why they have to hit the sort of the
for the average new person that wanders in the store can look at a book and go, oh, lizard. That is interesting.
But I think special editions, maybe that's a good sign that when it comes to those more limited releases, that they're feeling a little bit more saucy. I like that.
So we have our next question from Lionsaurus, asking, of all the various settings you have worked on, what has been your favorite setting to do art for? And I guess let's separate fantasy and 40K for this particular discussion. So whether you're looking at fantasy, 40K, Riot, or so I guess the League of Legends universe, or the World of Warcraft, or the other projects you've worked on? Is there one that kind of rises to the top?
I mean, I'm going to put a plug in for what I'm working on right now, which is the Coiled Crown, which is what I'm doing with my teammates of Rookery.
Yep, very excited to see where that's going to be going.
Yeah, and I think it's because it is, well, we can do anything with it we want with it. You know, it's a classic dark, gritty fantasy universe, but because we're still setting up the pillars of where we want it to be. It's as an artist, it's incredibly exciting and liberating to know that we can make it whatever we want it to be. We can build those classic archetypes that players want. GMs wanted stories that GMs want to tell, and then worlds that players want to explore and adventure in. But we get to do that in our own style and create our own NPCs and our own threats and our own casual characters and monsters.
That kind of, I'm curious to ask, do you tend to prefer, when going into projects, if you get to like be given like a much more blank slate of like, hey, just do whatever and let's see where this goes? Or do you prefer when there's kind of more of an idea of like, okay, here's the lanes we're really wanting to go down and see what you could do within these very defined spaces? Like, between those two dynamics, is there one that tends to appeal to you more?
I like both. I don't mind working within constraints as long as it's understood that as a concept artist, it's my job to push against them, and occasionally break through them, because that's how you get better. You get better ideas out there. It's kind of bumping up against the convention. But yeah, obviously starting with a blank slate or a loose open brief is always really cool. For sure. Yeah. But I quite like the challenge of working within an existing universe.
Okay, cool. Our next question in from Hyos is, do you have a favorite province within the Empire of Man from Warhammer Fantasy? And if so, why? It's a very specific kind of lore question.
Yeah, this is where I reveal. I did tell you I didn't work on the Empire, ever.
Yeah. I don't know if like maybe
to illustrate
mainland jumps out at you more, right, with like the Ulrikins or Reichland with their more Sigmarite leaning.
Now I'm thinking if it was real, if I was living there, if I had to pick a province actually to inhabit, I'd probably want to be Talion. I think I'd want to be down there enjoying the balmy weather.
Yeah, there is that endless joke in I think a lot of the Black Library books when things are going tits up, and they're always like, I hear it's nice in Talea this time of year.
I imagine it's like Italy, like Tuscany probably, and you're further away from the influence of chaos. That's probably
we have a question here from Hammond. Who asked, what was your opinion on the end times? Because I guess he just wants to just throw that into the conversation.
I bought a lot of very expensive books.
Yeah, me too.
that's about all I can say on that one, really. I mean, I understood at the time. It seemed like madness to throw it all out, to throw the baby out with the bathwater. When Games Workshop brought in Age of Sigmar, and initially I thought, oh man, I know this was pretty much sink or swim for the fantasy line at the time, but it seemed a crazy thing to do. But all the stouters have been proven wrong, because
weirdly it worked out.
Oh yeah, I would never have put money on it. I would have thought this is disaster.
I will always give major applause to the team that picked up the pieces after all that shenanigans. Though he does ask, is there any moment from the end times that you would have? Is there any art you've ever seen from the end times, or a moment that happened at the end times that you would have liked to have put to page?
Oh, Thanquil doing something terrible, probably.
Yeah, like Thanquil destroying the city of Nuln or one of those other things.
Something very Skaven-y.
Very, awesome. That is, super classic there. Jiggy asks, as you've done work on many different universes, do you have any opinion on when people try to do crossover fan fiction?
I fill your boots. I say do whatever you enjoy. I don't think I've read any of it. I can't recall specifically reading any of it.
Generally
I get
speaking, it's a dangerous pool to wade into, in my experience.
Oh no doubt. I get a little bit when I see whenever I'm at a convention, and there's always a lot of fan fiction art that artists are peddling on their stands. I get a bit like, oh god, really? Oh
yeah.
But hey, who am I to stand between the fans and their audience, the fan artists and their fan customers?
Yeah.
And if they want those two universes mashed up, and they want to buy a print and hang it on their wall, and nobody's hurt in the process, I say
that is actually probably one of the most wild experiences whenever I've been to a convention, is when you get to where all the art people are hanging all their stuff, and you're looking and going, whoa, there are some things here.
Yeah.
Infiltrator of Troy asks, how do you feel about the art designs that Creative Assembly went for the Lizardmen in Total War? Because they did use some very unique and new designs for things like the Croxagore and the Slon. I don't know if you've seen them.
Not up close. No, I couldn't comment on anything specifically. I mean, all I've seen of Total War, just a glorious interpretation from the tabletop. I mean, the first Warhammer computer game I played was Shadow of the Horned Rat.
Yeah, the OG.
Little blocks.
I think the
little colored blocks marching across the tabletop was it's come a long way.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful because you do get to see the scale of it as much as we love the tabletop and playing with the miniatures. When you get to see it rendered on a battlefield to the scale that it is in Total War, with the effects going and the animations going, it's glorious to see the translation right through to that level of fidelity. It's amazing.
Another question from Infiltrator of Troy that I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm curious if it'll be different. Is what creature or character or place that you are responsible for are you the most proud of, and why are you proud of it?
So what were the qualifications at the start?
Either a creature, a character, or a place.
See, now the two we've talked about earlier, because they're now most in my head.
Yeah, that we talked about the Warcraft place.
Felix's pants.
Yeah, Felix's pants. Well, and then the Squighopper, creature.
There must be something else, though. There must be something else. I can't just go to the ones that are now most stood up in my brain. I mean, in terms of characters,
see, I know of a creature piece that is like for fantasy that survived pretty much unchanged, like your troll art, which has now become what we know as stone trolls.
Oh, right.
But even in like the new Age of Sigmar trolls are based on that design, where they've got like the bulbous nose and the ears and stuff.
I mean, they existed as miniatures first. That was a pretty straightforward translation for me. Yeah, I want to say it was the Perry twins. I'm not sure if that's true. I think who sculpted those. But yeah, those that was just me simply sort of drawing a fantastic miniature. So I can't take credit for creation there. I like Marathi that I did back in the day.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
And I think it was, oh man, who did the sculpt? Was it Chris Fitzpatrick? I don't know. Somebody might know. But when they did the sculpt of her based on the first illustration that I did for her, that's nice when you get to, because you get to dive into the aesthetic that's already been created and go, oh, I'm going to do a character based on these designs, so I can exaggerate and go super crazy because it's a hero model, and I can give them a much bigger hat, which is always the immediate choice you make, bigger hat. And that's always really nice because you're playing in a safe a safe sand pit, right? The boundaries have been established. We know what the Dark Elves look like. Okay, but you want to do a character for the Dark Elves. Well, an ancient sorceress. Oh, yeah. So where you go and you play with that, and that's always really fun to do that. So I quite like her.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's. I mean, most of the projects I got to work on, there'll be at least one character or creature that I think I think I did a good job on. There's not a lot of pride in as much as like most artists. I'm pretty dismissive of my work in general. So it's as much as you might as well ask, which of these can you stand looking at?
Yeah. I feel like I say this with love, but it's like most artists I've met are like some of the most self-hating. They look at the art and they're like, "Ah, God, get away from me!" Terrible
imposter syndrome. Terrible imposter syndrome.
Which is, of course, ridiculous because y'all stuff is amazing.
But it's what pushes you on to do better work. There's very few artists I've ever met that think they couldn't do better, and the ones that do think that don't tend to get better as artists because they think, no, I'm as good as I need to be, and you kind of stop improving. I think as an artist, if you get to that point. So it's. I think most of us want to continue not liking our work that much. I like it if I like mine a little bit more, and I'm sure my teammates at Rookery would like me to like my stuff a little bit more. So I leave it alone.
Yeah,
I just say, oh, it's finished now. It's finished. It's finished.
Like, I can do it over.
No, I didn't. I had to go back and tweak his face. His face was rubbish.
So Victor over here asks, do you have a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay story that sticks out in your mind, like a particular highlight from your experience with the game?
What do you mean by heck yeah moment in terms of?
I think he means in like a moment where you were like, oh, that was so good. Like that, like either a triumphant moment or a particular story beat that due to dice rolls or the way you played your character is just stuck in your memory.
As a player.
Yeah, as a player.
No, I lose all the time. No, I'm not good. No, all my effort, all my creative effort, all my imagination goes into the painting of the miniatures, and then I wheel them out on the table, and they are summarily decimated by a far better player. If I can survive to like the end of round 3, I think I've done pretty well with myself.
What about like the roleplay campaign? Have you played the?
Yeah, Bogenhaven. A Chaos Gate opened over Bogenhaven.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
Terrible.
Yeah, it makes you feel better. That happened to my party as well.
we just hung around. We just hung around enjoying the festival and didn't really pay attention to what was going on around us. So yeah, I can't. Yeah,
Bogenhaven had a bad day with my with my party. It is no longer there. That's funny.
No. I was trying to think of other campaigns. I ran a RuneQuest campaign in my teens for about 3 years. And that was always fun to be in charge of the misery, meting out the misery. But I don't recall any great triumphant moments of play. I won my first game of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, that's always very good. Wow, that's
playing with Skaven. Yeah,
I've been playing quite a bit of Blood Bowl lately, and like there is no game that I hate so much on this world that I just keep going back to play. It makes me so mad. It's like it doesn't matter how much strategy you use in that game, it could just decide, no, you're gonna lose. There's nothing you could do. Screw you. I hate Jenkins Workshop for creating that game. It's so rage-inducing. It's addictive though. It's fun to play.
Yeah.
Infiltrator Troy asks, if you had to choose, would you prefer to make art for fantasy or art for science fiction?
Fantasy, yeah. Generally speaking, I mean, 40K is sort of space fantasy, really. You know,
it's definitely
nobody's asking me to draw sort of sleek, futuristic design stuff. It's all fairly clunky and riveted together, and it's all fairly medieval in its aesthetic. But I generally prefer fantasy to science fiction.
And then he asks, do you have any particular go-tos when you're trying to draw on inspiration for projects?
I have a routine. I've usually got 4 or 5 pieces of art on the go at various stages of development. And I try and charge up the subconscious with ideas at the start of a project and then leave them be for a while and get on with other stuff. And my subconscious knows, I know it well enough now to know that at some point a possible solution will come unbidden into my conscious brain when I'm thinking about something entirely different. And that'll be the trigger for a piece of art. It's like there's an author I read that was talking about where he would get inspiration, and he said he treated his subconscious as like a small dog, and he would throw sticks for it, and the stick would be, I need to write a chapter about this particular character, and that would be the stick, and he'd throw the stick in his mind, and the dog would go running after the stick. And eventually, and it would chase the stick into the bushes, and eventually it would come back, hopefully with the stick, sometimes with a dead frog. But hopefully it comes back with a stick, and the stick, and that's the answer. And oh yeah, that's what I need to do now, and away you go. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, whatever method you find to get your subconscious to work on your behalf is good, but it's kind of, you have to treat it as a separate thing and don't force it. I never sit down with a blank sheet of paper and no idea what I'm going to do, because if I were to do that, all I would end up drawing is something I've drawn before, because muscle memory would kick in, or it'd just be a bit of a lame idea, like, oh, that's very pedestrian, that's very run of the mill, that's not very imaginative. It's like, no, I got to let my subconscious go away and think for a while, and then it'll come back when it's got something.
Do you just kind of like carry on with like normal days, or do you like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and like watch these kind of movies, or I'm gonna like look at this kind of art?
Sometimes it'll be I'll put a movie on, or usually I as I say, I'll have several pieces of art in various stages of development. So if nothing particularly imaginative is coming through, I know I've got an illustration that I'm halfway through rendering that I've just got to sit and paint, and that doesn't require a lot of.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
it doesn't require a lot of imagination. That's just just got to cut. It's coloring inside the lines.
Yeah, but then when that bolt hits, you can go, I can
put that down and go, I'll just make a note on this thing and then get back to that later. So yeah, that's what you.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I certainly developed that when I was working in house, because if you're working in a studio, you expect it to be at your desk at a certain time, which is sometimes a challenge for concept artists, because I've got nothing going on in my head right now.
We're gonna need you to magically think of inspiration between 8 and 5.
yeah. So it's always good to have a few other things on the go, and then you end up coming home and working into the night, because that's when me particularly, my subconscious is active at night. It's a night owl.
Yeah.
So yes, when the sun goes down, my brain fires up. So my days can be very long. And if I'm working for a client and they expect me to be, at my desk at a certain time of day, it's like, well, no, I start work usually about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then I work through till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And the later it gets, the more focused I become. So yeah, that's what I do these days. And now if a client doesn't like it, tough titties.
Yeah. Just to deal with it. Yeah. So Hammond in here just bringing up all sorts of painful memories for me. So he said, if forced to do so, this is end time stuff, would you prefer an art being commissioned to do an art piece of Thorgrim Grudgebearer, the High King of the Dwarves, getting stabbed in the back by Deathmaster Snitch, or would you rather do Gelt, the Supreme Patriarch, getting stabbed in the back by Manfred von Karstein?
Oh, I'd give me Dwarves and Skaven, no question. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, fun fact is that we actually don't have a piece for that. We do have Gelt getting stabbed in the back by Manfred, but they didn't commission art for Thorgrim getting stabbed, weirdly enough. Even though it's like
I would go Dwarf versus Skaven. I think it's just more fun to draw.
Yeah, oh God, that was such a heartbreak. I'm almost glad there's not art of that, because it would have made me so upset. Though I think I've seen a fan, like a really well done.
I'm sure there's fan art. I'm sure there's really good fan art, and there's probably a lot of awful AI art. But let's not open that can of worms.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. All is Dusks asks, do you have any particular artworks or artists that were your inspirations when you were working on Warhammer Fantasy?
I mean, certainly my fellow artists at the time, people like John Blanche and Jez Goodwin and Wayne very much. And then outside of Games Workshop, I was a big fan of a lot of sort of 70s fantasy art. Obviously, people like Frank Rosetta, but Rodney Matthews was a massive influence on me. if you know Rodney's poster work and album cover stuff, because he was one of the first artists that I was aware of as a kid who really embraced that sort of holistic design. You know, he'd have characters, but there'd be props and buildings and everything sort of meticulously.
It's more of like an overall scene.
His style, there was not a single element of one of his pieces that was ever overlooked. It was all just, he just had such an amazing eye for that sort of stuff. So yeah, he was somebody that had a big influence on me when I come to work up a concept for a character or a location. It's always consider every aspect, consider every element, make not just a cool character, make the world that they live in cool and believable.
Yeah, so many of your pieces like have such like fantastic like backgrounds and little things going on.
Yeah, you mentioned the Swordmaster of I always call it Hoth because that's what it was originally. The E only got added because, so not to confuse it with
with Star Wars.
Star Wars Ice Planet. That tower in the background is pure Rodney Matthews.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, just looking at like the Lizardman art's got like all sorts of like jungles and stuff going on in the background, or like Ariel's art I love because it's got the whole thing of like the goblins like running for their lives. She's chasing them. Yeah, it's just like so many cool things like that, which just adds so much life to the painting. Like it's great.
Any chance to tell and as impressive as a sort of stoic single figure stood there, backlit in mist can be, if you can tell a little narrative in a piece of art, it's always kind of like it just kind of engages people and gets them, I think, a bit more excited about it.
Let's see. So next question from Vigario is much, if not all of your work is in black and white. Do you think Games Workshop would do you think that would still be a style pursued in the modern age, or do you think modern people are too obsessed with just having everything colored?
No, I don't. I think no. I mean, we're doing largely black and white stuff with Coiled Crown, and that's an artistic, creative choice largely because it's kind of. I think it can be very evocative. Obviously, it's generally speaking quicker to paint, but actually, I particularly with things like RPG rule books, you're thumbing through them. I think that monochrome makes the book sort of readable. A little more accessible. I think when studios moved from black and white, or largely black and white, to full color because printing just became so much more cheaper. Books became harder to read in a lot of cases. It was we can throw all this texture in and all this art and all, and it just becomes overpowering. So I like a nice sort of
it makes
black and white book.
Certainly makes them much more crisp. Like it's so much easier readability wise. Absolutely agree with that.
So I mean with Workshop, I think they still do. Isn't the Necromunda and they still do Necromunda in black and white?
That could be the case, but I don't own any of that, so I don't know.
I think Workshop have stepped back from the really, really heavy color of previous years, and I think they're using a little more sparingly. It's still full color books, but they're kind of easing back on the saturation a little bit and being careful about where they drop the color because I think they're aware too that it can be too overwhelming.
And then let's see. So another question says, how do you feel about some of the characters in your artwork and how they have changed very drastically over time? For example, comparing the modern Morathi or Nagash versus the ones that you created or drew.
I mean, I like the serpent sorceress Morathi. I think she's awesome.
Oh yeah, the new AOS one.
Yeah. I think she's very cool. No, I like the I think there's a sort of spirit in a character, whether it's an illustration or a miniature, and I think as long as that spirit is transferred between iteration, as long as you don't lose that, I think you can upscale a miniature in any fashion you choose, as long as the fundamental essence remains.
Is there anything
So,
that's kind of like ever jumped to mind of something that has kind of lost the plot a little bit?
I'm sure there has. I'm trying, I can't think of oh well, I mean, this is personal preference. I've got a Plague Marine army that I built largely before the Death Guard miniatures came out, and for me, they're sort of newly infected, so I don't like I don't like Plague Marines with all these giant spikes sticking out on them. I end up going in and doing lots of snippy because like for me they've gone, oh no, you've gone too far, you've gone too mutant, you've made them too sickly. But that's so it's not that it's sort of, you know, lost the plot with it. It's just for my taste, I like it. I like it a little.
Yeah. I'm going to turn the slider just down just a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. So that's if anything, that's what I tend to do with my miniatures is ease back on stuff that for me personally is a little too full on. It's also, I don't tend to collect like the big centerpiece miniatures, like the big name characters, because for me they're too expensive to risk in a kit bash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I don't want to snip it off and go, oh no.
We're gonna need 150 pounds for this plastic guy that you're gonna butcher.
Yeah. Plus, I prefer to make my own sort of name characters. I prefer to make a Chaos Sorcerer rather than use Mortarion. I want to kit bash my own Chaos Sorcerer from a number of cheaper kits that when I total them up are more than the cost of Mortarion. Yeah. But I'm not trying to think too hard about that right now.
Kit bash, never ask a kit basher about his receipts. Yeah.
No, God no. Oh man. The little bits I bought on eBay, you know, for to get one, because there's 1 minute, tiny component I need.
He's at a painter's right now because they're using him for reference for some minis, but I worked with a painter to like make a really hardcore kit bash mini for Tehinuin, the Prophet of Sotek character. And like I was like, oh, I want to buy like this and this and this and this, and I don't even want to think about how that all added up. I just choose not to. I refuse to ever do the math on that.
Yeah. So to answer the original question, I think generally speaking, the sort of the upglow of miniatures and of designs has been largely pretty successful. But occasionally, for me, it will cross a point where I think that's too much for my taste. But it's rarely. Do I think it's gone too far in general?
Yeah, well, and it's like I've actually been really appreciating when they occasionally do release minis that are a little more I don't think subtle's maybe the right word, but they're a little more contained. You know, we talked about earlier the new Nurgle wizard on the horse with the scythe.
Oh yeah,
where he's not this ridiculous huge monster with a really it's a far more kind of contained piece that works so well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Those are the ones I think, because they're a bigger challenge, right, to sculpt, to come up with, because I'm not saying it's easy to go for the giant 3-headed monster, but it's, you know, there's a wow factor to that.
Yeah.
That you have to work a little harder to find.
Yeah. How do we make a guy on a horse as interesting as that? Yeah,
for sure.
Let's see. And then another question is, did you ever make any art for Warhammer or any settings that you just made for yourself and ended up not being released?
Oh, there's pieces that not as personal pieces just for my own amusement. There were certainly pieces I did early on that were sort of test pieces to show that I could paint in the world, and there were other pieces that I did that for whatever reason the character or the book it was meant to go in ran out of space and they had to drop the illustration.
Oh, okay.
So I have a couple of pieces. I think in the Dark Elves book.
Man, it just occurred to me. You need to release like the art of Mark Gibbons.
But I do. Unfortunately, I can't do that because I don't own the rights. It's a question I get asked. More than any other is can you do an art book or can you do prints? And the answer to that is not if it's somebody else's IP. So I can't do a book of my work for Games Workshop. I can't do a book of my work for Blizzard.
That is atrocious.
Blizzard might let me, but Games Workshop, but they don't let that stuff. out anymore.
That is dumb. I don't like that. It's like I can understand that. Yeah, sure, they own it. They could do what they want with it. It'd be nice if the artists could celebrate their own pieces.
Yeah, I mean, particularly, I suppose, if they're not actually going to publish the work anymore, which they're not really. So it's just sitting in a drawer.
Well, it's like I know they. I think I have it because I bought it, but it's like there's a book over here somewhere that's like the art of Warhammer Fantasy that they released not terribly long ago. And it's literally just a collection of a bunch of, and it's like I don't think even most of them have like who they're by. It's just like just pictures. It's like, come on, guys, basic manners.
Yeah. That's a whole another question of the. I mean, again, I can't blame Games Workshop for that exclusively, because throughout my career I've been asked to stop signing my work.
Which is that's ridiculous.
And I sort of got to the point where I said, well, when I was doing the little MG, it went from being something that I would just put in the corner to being something I would lay down or hide,
I've noticed that some of your pieces, it's like part of the environment.
that was intentional on my part to hopefully reduce the instances of them asking me to remove the art, because the more subtle I made it, I felt the more accepting they would be of it. Plus, the harder it would be for them to cut it out.
Yeah.
Then of course everything went digital, and now it's like easy. If they want to take my initials off my art, there's nothing I can really do to stop them. It just seems a little.
Yeah. Well, that's super gross. I hate it.
But again, it's not. It's everywhere.
It's definitely an industry problem.
Has asked at some point, would I mind not doing it? And my response is, if I like the art, I'll sign it. You are free to remove my signature if it bothers you.
Yeah, I don't know. That drives me crazy, because it's like, what if someone sees that later and is like, oh, I want to know who made this so I can see.
Well, the increase in anonymity is a big thing. That's a little more insidious. The reasoning behind that is, that's relatively
especially nowadays with like AI stuff and stuff. It's like, I want to know who's making my art.
Oh well, yeah,
because anyway, that's a whole thing. So okay, we only have 2 questions left. So Islington asks, when being asked for Warhammer art, has there ever been any discussion that you've been a part of where there's something said along the lines of, we want this art to appeal to this kind of group, or these kinds of individuals, or have you ever felt that there's an expectation on you as an artist to provide for that?
No, not in my time. I think that I suspect there's been a little more of that in later years. I think Games Workshop have identified target audiences, but it was never the case when I was working there. It was always just because it was all just so fan driven, and by fan driven I mean the people that made the games, and they still are massive fans. But even the people at the top are just frothy beards about all of it, whether that was people like Brian Ansell and Rick Priestley.
Back when it was just a collection of nerds.
So there was faith that if they thought it was cool, there was an audience for it, and that was all it was. I think that was it. So
if we like it, then someone will like it.
It's never been said to me, oh, well, we need to chase a particular audience.
Okay, interesting. And then the last question from Infiltrator of Joy is, how
is it going to be a tricky one?
How often is it that visual art made first and then Games Workshop or writers have come to you and said, oh, that's cool, let's write about it or use something, use that, versus they're giving you guidance? So I guess he's asking of a sliding scale of kind of thing. Of a sliding scale of, how often is it you create something and they're going to work with that versus they create something and they want you to work with that?
I mean, generally speaking, throughout my time, miniatures or at least concepts from miniature designers came before the artwork. Generally speaking, the lead-in times, I mean, these days I think it's far more so, because the lead-in times to make plastic kits is vast. It's like 18 months. It might have shrunk down a bit. They may have got more streamlined with it. But back in the day when it was metal miniatures, you needed about 3 months lead-in time for just to have the miniature sculpted and to have cast up enough copies that when it goes on sale, you've got enough to meet the demand. So it tended to be the miniatures were getting made ahead of the art, and the art would be like, oh, we're putting the book together, right? We got some holes to fill. Here's the miniature. Go away and draw this thing to fill in the space. You would have occasion to talk with a writer about in the early planning stages of the book about characters, and you might get to throw some ideas in there which might potentially shape and influence. But in addition to the lead-in time required for sculpting, the game's designers had been playtesting with proxy mocked-up miniatures and refining the rules and working out what worked and what didn't work. So if you come along as an artist, oh, I like that. That's a cool character. How about I give them this? And they'll go way off. They'll go off into a little huddle and say, if they give him that sword, and that sword does this thing, is that going to mess with the rules, or is that going to be all right?
Yeah.
And they'll come back and say, yes, you can do that. Oh no, you got to stick with what we're giving him. So there's always a little bit of give and take, but I think it's the miniatures of what has driven it by and large. I think certainly these days, I was so quite surprised to learn that so much of the direction comes from miniatures. And the writers will often only come in sort of once the minis have been decided on, and then they'll write rules for them. I mean, I'm sure there's a brief. I'm sure that design sits down at the start and says, okay, we're going to do this book, and these are the sort of characters we want to include, and these are the sort of races we need to feature. But I also think the concept artists just go away and fill sketchbooks full of all wacky ideas and bring them back and say, oh, we'd like to do this too. So there is. It is a big old melting pot. Oftentimes, sculptors, concept artists will have laid stuff out, and then artists can come in with designers and writers and sort of shape the clay, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
and then what you get comes out the other end will be, and stuff gets revisited as well. Nothing is ever set in stone. You have to. Games Workshop love the unreliable narrator. I know we said this about this thing, but really we've decided to change the rules, or we're going to change a bit of the law because we've come up with.
We decided bugger that, we're doing something else.
Yeah, and that's fine too. And so it may take. As much as a new army book comes out, and we'll go, oh, that's new miniature. I love that one. Oh, they haven't revisited that one, or they haven't given me a new interpretation of that classic miniature.
Oh yeah,
God, I was really hoping they would.
Skaven, please.
Well,
please, God.
I went and bought the new Underworlds Plague Monk pack.
Yeah, beautiful.
I was chatting to the guy in the shop. I said, well, let's, he said to me, well, hopefully this is going to be, the forerunner of a whole new range of plague monks. And I said, yes. And the gutter runners. He went, yes.
I know. So, it's like right now, if you want to get, they have so many cool Underworld war bands, but it's like, you're going to have to pay like $2,000 if you want to play an army of the new Skaven. If you want 40 plague monks, good luck. Yeah, I'm going to need to buy this war band 1,000 times. But, that's pretty much, we're out of time. Thank you so much for coming on.
That was 2 hours. That's crazy.
Yeah, it flew by. It's like I want to keep going, but I talked to a wildlife specialist, and they're like, I have to put out the bunnies at a specific time.
You
so
have to take
their mom will come find them. But just want to thank you so much for coming on. It was absolutely a delight.
It was an absolute pleasure. I love chatting with you. Love chatting with your audience. It was great questions. Happy to do it.
And it's so great to put kind of a face to the name of someone who has created like a lot of the best stuff that I've grown up with. Like I literally was born like I've lived with this stuff my entire life.
This is very kind of you. Thank you so much.
This is my bread and butter. I mean, and it's like how many of these pieces have remained like not undisturbed, so to speak, but like they've stayed true, just showing how fantastic and inspired the initial creations from like Lord Croak to Heinrich Himmler to Orion and Ariel. And like little backsider information for people of like, I remember when Ariel was initially being worked on for the Total War game, and I was getting to sit in on a little meeting about how they were going to design her. And what everything was going to look like, and it was literally to just throw up your art on page, and they're like, we're going to do this.
That's awesome.
And it's like, yeah, please, let's do that, because that looks fucking amazing. And they did, and it looks great. Thank you for all the work you've done for me and millions of other fans and people, because it's awesome to get to have these things.
Well, thank you for enjoying it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Easy to do. So thanks everyone so much for watching. Mark, is there anything you have like coming up in the near future, or is there places where people can find you and stuff like that? If someone's like, I love Mark, and I want to make sure I
mean, please come follow us on Rookery's
Rookery Publications, which the bot has been Nightbot's been plugging that away the whole stream, so make sure you go check them out.
Is inside the Rookery Patreon, where we talk to people in the industry. We do master classes, which we're hoping to do more. I've been really busy working on our first full proper hardback book for the Coil Crown, which is our
I'm going to be buying a copy of that.
But I'm hoping when that's out the way in the near future, I get to do some master classes. I get to get involved a bit more with all that. We will keep everybody posted. We hope to have a new edition of Dark Deeds out as soon as we can iron out all the weird distribution niggles that are bothering us, the industry as a whole at the moment. So there's lots of stuff, I would say. Early next year, I'm hoping that we're going to be leaping into all sorts of action. But please come see us on Discord. In the meantime, come check us out on YouTube. I'm sure your
Rookery Publications is a close friend.
That's awesome.
What we do here.
That's awesome. So more and more of that, because as much as I've enjoyed working for the big companies over the years, nothing beats the working with close friends.
Yeah, well, y'all have such a
meaningful,
freaking crazy all-star team over there. So yes, Rookery Publications, guys, please make sure you go check them out. You can find them on YouTube, Twitch. They also have a Discord community, like you said, and they have a Patreon. So please check all those out and support them.
Please do.
And they sell things. So go.
Oh yeah. We drive RPG. We've got a couple of PDFs at the moment. The big book is coming in the not too distant future. Not sure how we're going to put that out yet, but we're going to make sure that when we do, we'll do it right. We'll do it proper.
And their stuff is awesome. It literally does not matter what role play system you use. They design things that are designed to fit like a puzzle piece with it. So regardless if you play D&D or Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay or whatever, Call of Cthulhu, literally anything, go check them out and you'll find useful things. Give them money, please.
Please, yes, do that as well.
But yeah, that's our show. So thanks everyone so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next week for well, you'll see. There will be a vote up, but it'll be at the usual time. Anyway, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.